Gmar Chatima Tova, Shana Tova, everyone. If you can start to make your way to your seats, if you are part of the Torah processional, if you can start to make your way to your positions, we will be beginning momentarily. Invite you all to please find your seats. We'll be beginning in a moment. So many people. Let's hit it.
Got my head covering.
I'm so sorry.
Oy zaru ala tzadik uli shrei lev simcha. Oy Sing it again, Or Zarua. Tzadik. Or Zarua la Tzadik, U'yishrei lev simcha. We're singing the Torahs into the room. Or Zarua la Tzadik, U'yishrei lev simcha.
source of life, who calls us back to our truth. We're grateful for the opportunity to answer your call, to leave behind our old ways, to turn with whole hearts. We know the work of this day is difficult. We know that there have been times that we have resolved sincerely and truly this time to be different and failed spectacularly by being exactly the same. To search our souls with honesty, that's the hardest thing, because our pride is great and our fear too at what we'll see when we look inside. On this Kol Nidre night, we yearn to be better than we've been. We are ready to stretch ourselves, to reach for the light above us and inside of us. Help us, Holy One. Be with us. Give us the opportunity to renew our days and return again to ourselves, to each other, and to you. B'yeshiva shel mala u'b'yeshiva shel mata, al dat hamakom v'al dat hakahal, anu matirin leipalel im avaryanim. B'yeshiva shel mala u'b'yeshiva shel mata, al dat hamakom v'al dat hakahal, anu matirin leipalel im havayanim. B'yeshiva shel mala u'b'yeshiva shel mata, al dat hamakom v'al dat hakahal, anu matirin leipalel im havayanim.
Ve'esarei v'acharamei ve'konamei v'chinuyei ve'kinusei u'shavuot. Darna udish tabana udeharimena vedasarna nafshatana miyom kippurim ze ad yom kippurim haba Icharat nafeon kulhon yehon sheran shvikin shvitin v'telin u'mevutalin sharirin velo kayamin Vaharana la esarai Ushavuatana la shevu
Dindana urish tavana ureya karimna mediyasana Miyom Kippurim Haba Aleinu Letova Kol Icharadna Vehon Kol Hon Yehon Sharan Betelin umevutalim Nidrana la nidre Sarana la esare Ushvu atana La shevu
Nidre ve'esare vacharami ve'kol ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. We do it again, ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. One more. ונסלח לכל הדת בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה. סלח נא לעוון העם הזה כי גודל חסדך וכאשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים ועד הנה ושם נאמר ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We return the Sifrei Torah to the Ark. When the Ark is closed, you can be seated. Tonight, which is Yom Kippur, Shabbat, Shabbaton, is also just plain Shabbat. And so we'll continue on page 206 with Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון להגיד בבוקר one more time. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer leshimcha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer leshimcha Adonai malach geut lavish Adonai oz hitazar avtikon teval baltimot nachon kisacha me'az me'olam ata naseu naharot Adonai naseu naharot kolam iseu narot doch yam mikol mayim rabim adirim ish bebreyam adir bamarom Adonai edotecha ne'amnu me'od leveitcha navo kodesh Adonai le'orech yamim.
I'll invite our religious school kids who are with us tonight, who don't have early bedtimes, to start making their way up to the front. They'll be singing for us Ahavat Olam in just a couple of pages. While they're making their way up, I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge our wonderful Director of Family and Community Learning, Samantha Hoffman, who joined our team last year together with her husband, Zach, and their adorable daughter, Dora, and who has done such wonderful things with our school, which has now climbed to 90 students and keeps climbing. We are so very, very proud of the program that we are able to offer to our kids. And to announce, if you didn't hear on Rosh Hashanah, that we are very lucky to now be joined by a new youth director, Melanie Edwards. If you have teens, they got the chance to meet her at the teen discussion on Rosh Hashanah, and they'll have the chance again tomorrow at Yom Kippur. We're so excited of the addition of Melanie to our team, a second-year social work graduate student. Yay, social workers, go mom, at Cal State Long Beach, and just a wonderful, wonderful person to round out our team. Ask you all to please rise on page 207 for Baruch.
Yai, nai, 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 nai. Yai, nai, nai, yai, yai, yai. Yai, 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 yai. Yai, 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 yai. Yai, 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 yai. Hi.
You all may be seated. Chai v'kayam tamidim loch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamari v'aravi. Page 208.
our games right now.
והיה, שמור תשמעו מצוותיי אשר נכי מצוותיכם היום לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיכם בכל. נתתם את ארצכם ביתו שמכם יפתיעו לכם. ויאמר אדוני משה ודבר על בני ישראל לאמור. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת ואמונה כל זופת קיים עלינו כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואין זולתו ואנחנו ישראל עמו הפודנו מיד מלאכים מלכינו כולנו מפלצים האל נפעל לנו זה גדולות אין חקר ונפלאות.
In a couple of moments, we'll meet in the middle on page 10 with Micha Mocha. It's our people's liberation song sung at the close of one chapter and the beginning of something new and please God better, as we stand at the close of one chapter and the beginning of something please God better. We stand with all the generations who have ever hoped for redemption. Middle of page 210.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל לך אנו שירה שמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות עושה פלא מלכותך רבניך בוקיים לבני משה זה לי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ודרכנו בעצה טובה מלפניך והושיענו למען שמך והגן בעדנו והסר מעלינו אויב דבר וחרב רעה ביגון ונך ברכנו בצדנו כי יום הרחמים ברכם ותשמעתם ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ויעקב עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Please rise on page 212.
ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם בבית עולם ביני ובין בני ביום הזה יכפר עליכם, לתחר אתכם, מכל חטאותיכם, לפני אדוני תטהרו. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותי, ועמליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויפאר וישומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן בעלממה ואמרו
We turn now to the first of the 5 Amidot, the first of the 5 standing prayers of Yom Kippur. This one is said silently. It begins on page 213. Please feel free to use the words in the book. Please feel equally free to close the book and use the prayer in your hearts. What matters most in this holiday is authenticity. And so if it's most honest to pray these ancient words, pray them. And if you have words that you need to offer, pray those. Just pray.
V'meru.
Gemar Chatima Tova, everybody. Good to be with you. There is so much to be said about the moment that we're in, about the world and its brokenness, about the great themes of this year for our people, for our planet. On Rosh Hashanah, I talked about collective grief. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about hope. But tonight, I want to go personal. Because as I said on Erev Rosh Hashanah, the events of the world don't take us off the hook to also do the heart work of these holidays. To reflect on what we've learned along the journey of a year. And hopefully to collect some wisdom. So this is going to be a little personal. I'll start with a joke. An Englishman, a Frenchman, and a Jew. You've heard this one. Are making their way through a scorching desert. The sun is beating down on their backs, and they are drenched in sweat. I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty. I can't do accents. I tried beforehand. I couldn't make it work. I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty, said the Englishman. I must have a beer. The Frenchman said, I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty. I must have wine. The Jew said, I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty. I must have diabetes. You like that one? Last summer, sometime around when we all celebrated Cantor Amy and my installation with unlimited Baskin-Robbins ice cream, I began a new daily ritual. I started, when I came into work, filling up a pitcher of water from the kitchen and putting it in my office. It was a hot August. We could all be better hydrated, right? And within an hour, I would drink it all down and then go back and refill the pitcher. And then I would do it again. And then I would do it again. The kitchen started wondering where all of our pitchers had gone. As fall started, more than a few of you, especially those who are just so sweetly attuned to taking care of the rabbi and my family, started offering me unexpected compliments. Rabbi, you're looking good. Are you losing weight? What are you doing differently, and can you teach me? I wasn't sure what to say, because honestly, I wasn't doing anything differently. If anything, I was eating like a monster. Stress, I thought. A hectic High Holy Day season, followed by the terrible and tragic events in Israel. We were clearly under a lot of strain, and I took a very small consolation in the fact, for the first time ever in my life, Stress was causing me to lose weight instead of gain. As fall turned to winter, though, I began to realize that something was definitely off. My clothes weren't fitting right. I particularly remember officiating a funeral and trying to stay focused on the family while struggling to keep my pants up at the cemetery. Then came a week where I lost a pound every single day. I made an appointment to see a doctor. My whole adult life, and this is going to be offensive to like 10% of you in the room, and I apologize, my whole life I've avoided doctors. Even before we started living on Zoom, I was an early adopter of those online doc-in-a-box kind of services. I love being able to pop online, request a quick antibiotic from a bored-looking retiree who doesn't ask any questions, or ask if I've ever considered maybe losing a little bit of weight. Over the past several years, I took my wife to a lot of doctor's appointments on the journey to having Grace. And then, of course, we had a baby who needed to be shuttled to the pediatrician. And then came a pandemic, and a move, and a new job. And somehow my 30s had come and almost gone. I turn 40 next week. Thank you. And I'd not gotten a single physical in that whole time. Not a mazel tov moment. So this time I knew I didn't have a choice. I scheduled an appointment with a new doctor. Thank you to Annie Sugarman, who connected me with him. On the day before Hanukkah, he was pleasant, calm, and extremely casual as he took some blood, ordered some tests, and seemed mostly concerned with reassuring a clearly neurotic new patient that whatever was going on probably wasn't such a big deal, and that I'd hear from the office in a week or so, just to let me know that everything was normal. The next morning, a call interrupted my first meeting of the day. Saw it was my doctor's number. Not so good. I excused myself and stepped in here, into the darkened sanctuary for some privacy, and picked up on the very last ring. Doctor himself on the other end of the phone. That's never good. So your labs came back, and blood sugar is kind of off the charts. I'm sorry to tell you, you're definitely diabetic, and I'm pretty sure you've been for a long time. Could you come in this afternoon, please? I'm so thirsty, the Jew says. Well, here was my answer. Happy Hanukkah. No latkes. So I see the faces, and I hear the murmuring, and let me skip ahead. I'm fine. Like truly, truly fine. Within months of starting some medication and making some pretty significant changes in my kiddish choices, my numbers dropped entirely out of the diabetic range and have stayed there pretty consistently ever since. I have gone on to, intentionally this time, lose another 25, on a good day, closer to 30 pounds. And for the first time in my life, I have found limited pleasure in an exercise routine. I am still definitely a work in progress, and there is a lot more that I want to achieve. But my doctor told me he'd never seen someone make such a fast turnaround. He's also like 19, so I don't put that much stock in that. I'm doing great, but I still have diabetes, and I'll always have diabetes now. I've got it well in hand, and I know just how lucky I am to be able to say that. But it's been a year. And I've kept this rather significant news about my health almost entirely to myself. Of course, Anne and my parents and my in-laws have been wonderfully supportive. Gracie knows that too much sugar is bad for Daddy, and so she offers to share her sweet treats, but reminds me, Daddy, just take a little. Come to think of it, I'm not sure her motivations are entirely altruistic in that. But so it goes. But that's it. Aside from my family and a few very close friends and colleagues, I've really not told very many people at all. I live an extremely public life. Every week, sometimes multiple times a week, I stand up here and talk about what's on my mind and in my heart. I tell personal stories, sometimes more than my wife would prefer that I tell. But this new part of my daily reality for the past 9 months, haven't been ready to talk about it till now. I decided I wanted to share it tonight for a couple of reasons. The first one is this: we love each other. We love each other, and when we love each other, we shouldn't have shame. For a long while, I felt a lot of shame about this diagnosis. You know, type 2 diabetes is considered for many people to be a lifestyle disease. And yes, genetics play a big role, to be sure, and there are people who live on terrible diets and no exercise, and their pancreases just grin and bear it. But there is a bitter pill of truth that I bear some responsibility for where I find myself. The choices I made to neglect my physical health for decades, not taking the time to go to the doctor, not just avoiding, but actively making fun of the concept of exercise, my deep and abiding love of classic, fully leaded Coca-Cola, none of that helped. It's hard to own up to the fact that I made some not great choices, and I wasn't lucky enough to be able to dodge paying for them, even to the age of 40. But if I'm serious with all my talk about this place being mishpacha, family, then how can I not be real with my family about what's going on with me? How can I presume to be authentically this community's teacher about teshuvah without acknowledging that I've got plenty of work to do on myself? As with everything, the best antidote to shame is the willingness to speak truth out loud. To own up to the fact that we're all human, subject to many temptations and well-ingrained bad habits and foibles. The sooner we stop pretending to be anything other than flawed and fragile beings, the sooner we can start to grow and heal. The great Hasidic teacher Rabbi Nachman once said, if you believe something can be broken, you must also believe that it can be fixed. Yeah, but first we need to acknowledge the broken places, and then we can start to put ourselves back together again. And I realized I needed to talk about this specifically on Yom Kippur, because over the last 9 months I've come to understand that I had internalized a quite unhelpful version of the message of this day. All my life I'd heard rabbis give the sermon that the reason that we fast and abstain on Yom Kippur is to challenge us to get out of our bodies and focus on our souls. I told a generation of Intro to Judaism students the same thing. As I understood it and taught it, the idea was that by turning attention away from the distractions of our physical needs, we would be able to tap into a greater holiness, that we are closest to what matters most when we are least in our bodies. I imagine this rebalancing of focus might have been important to our ancestors, who did hard labor every day, drawing forth their bread from the earth by the sweat of their brow. But for me, and I'm presuming to give this sermon because I suspect it's true for not a few of us, each in our own ways, my main problem is not how to get out of my body, but how to get into it. Particularly in the Jewish community, many of us go into fields which primarily reward us for our minds, not our bodies. We famously become doctors, lawyers, accountants, business people, teachers, counselors, Jewish nonprofit professionals. We think and talk and type for a living, and these days interact with the world mostly through video conference, where we are quite literally a head on shoulders. When I meet people for the first time who I've been meeting with for years, they say, "You're tall." And I say, "You didn't know the half of me." Over the last 2 decades in which I trained to become a rabbi and sought to make a name for myself and establish myself in this professional role, I have seen my body almost exclusively as a vehicle for carrying my brain from room to room. That's certainly what I've been rewarded for. On that journey of learning over those 2 decades, I've been fortunate to find the most incredible rebbes and teachers for my mind and soul. But I only just realized, and quite a bit too late, that I never even thought to seek out any learning about how to care for this mess of muscle and bone and blood and plumbing and wiring that's so essential to everything else. That as I strove to live and even had the chutzpah to think I could role model for others what I imagined to be some kind of a holy life, that I had thoroughly bought into the idea that such a life should transcend the physical rather than live in it. It's a long history of religion promoting an indifference to or even a hostility towards the body. The Western Christian tradition, deeply influenced by Platonic thought, conceives of us as divided beings, possessed of earthly bodies and heavenly souls, in constant tension and conflict with one another. In this dichotomy, the body represents all that is animal, our base instincts, our shameful needs, our mortality. On the other hand, the soul is pure spirit, perfect, belonging to an entirely different realm of existence. The soul, Plato taught, is trapped in the prison of the flesh. The body, as St. Paul called it, is nothing but the seat of sin. If the body is the seat of sin and the prison house of the soul, then of course holiness is to be found in the rejection of our physicality and the turning of our attention to our truer and more elevated nature. Judaism is not immune to this sort of thinking. Many of the Jewish philosophers, and particularly the Kabbalists, the mystics, attach themselves very firmly to the idea of a profane physical body that ensnares and obscures our divine essence. But there's an older, deeper, and I believe much wiser pattern of Jewish thought that rejects this view of us as divided beings, fundamentally at war with ourselves. In our tradition, we find the most extraordinary teachings that treat the body as an object of reverence, a living manifestation of God's glory on earth. It begins with what I hold to be the foundational concept of the Torah, present from its very first chapter, that human beings are created, b'tselem Elohim, in God's image and likeness. Abraham Joshua Heschel taught that the reason it's forbidden to create a physical representation of God has nothing to do with the fear that we might be so foolish as to actually bow down to a statue or graven image, but rather that it would distract us from the fact that we can encounter the image of God every hour of every day. We only need to look at each other. I think we sense this best when we look at a baby. I remember sitting for hours when Gracie was little, tracing with my finger her eyebrows and the seashell curves of her ears and counting and recounting her fingers and wondering at this perfect little human form, an image of God, if I ever saw one. I still think so. What would it be like to see each other with similarly reverent eyes? To look at a friend or a stranger, or you're ready for a challenge, in the mirror, and feel wonder rather than shame. Feel a sense of the incredible artistry manifest in these physical bodies. Jewish law further teaches that since our divine crafted selves are ultimately the property of their maker, we are obligated to keep them in the best possible condition for their eventual return. Hishamer lecha ushmor nafshecha me'od. Take utmost care and guard yourself, says Deuteronomy. For most Jews, this translates into the myth. It's a myth that we all heard somewhere that it's forbidden to be buried in a Jewish cemetery if we have a tattoo. Raise your hand if you've heard that one. Made up by Jewish mothers. I'm serious. If we thought about it for a second, think about this. A murderer, a Ponzi schemer, the guy who came up with the thing where you have to see all the bicycles in the picture in order to prove you're not a robot on the internet. All of those people can be buried in a Jewish cemetery. But the butterfly on your tuchus that you got in college, or the Am Yisrael Chai that you proudly got inked in November, that keeps you from the higher class sections of Harbor Lawn? The fact is, the obligation of Shmirat HaGuf, guarding the body, is way more expansive than that. In preparation for writing this sermon, I had the privilege of spending an hour with Rabbi Elliot Dorff, longtime past chair of the Conservative Movement's Committee on Jewish Law, and one of the world's foremost scholars of bioethics and halakha. In my interview with him, he said over and over again that we can understand activities from smoking to excess drinking to eating the American diet of processed foods to a lifetime of sitting immobile at desks, all as violations of Jewish law. Every bit as serious as a violation of Shabbat or Kashrut. If we're truly obligated to take utmost care and guard ourselves, then when we eat, our responsibility, our Jewish responsibility, goes beyond determining if the food is milk or meat. If you're one of those people who prefers to go for a hike on Shabbos morning rather than come to shul, you're good. That's Avodat HaKodesh, that's holy service, provided you break a sweat. Most of all, Rabbi Dorff emphasized to me that to take these concepts seriously is to reject the deeply ingrained idea that many of us have, that I still struggle with, that self-care is selfish, and rather see taking care of these extraordinary and sacred bodies as an essential aspect of living a life of mitzvot. To help us remember this powerful and often challenging lesson, Judaism offers us a frankly delightful practice that I invite everybody to consider taking on this year. You ready? It begins in a place not usually spoken of on Kol Nidre Eve. It begins in the bathroom and commences immediately after we finish doing the most embodied thing we do. Everybody does it. Read a book to Gracie about that. After we finish, and as soon as we've washed our hands, because we're not animals, the Talmud teaches us to say a prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yitzar et adam b'chokhmah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who created us with wisdom, who made within us many openings and closings. You ready? If just one of those openings were to close, or just one of those closed places were to open, galui v'yadua lifnei kisei kvodecha, it is known before your holy throne, after you finish on the holy throne, that it would be impossible to stand before you. Blessed is Adonai, who heals all flesh and does wonders. That's a real bracha in your prayer book. There is, I venture, almost no prayer in our liturgy that has more power to utterly change our lives than that one. And it's for pooping. If that seems silly, or maybe a little obscene, consider whether we still would when our bodies stop working the way they should. Something open closes off. We might call that a heart attack. A closed system springs a leak. We might call that a stroke. An accident that changes our body in an instant, a disease that slowly and silently progresses until it threatens to undermine or even steal away the whole life that we've built. We are wonderfully and intricately made, so stunning in our complexity, so improbable in the incredible amount that needs to go right for us to live a single hour. It's a wonder that any of us last longer than a mayfly, much less the better part of a century. Just to breathe is a blessing. Just to breathe is a blessing. Last year for my birthday, Anne bought me a book written by a professor at Duke Divinity School named Kate Bowler. I just wrote her a fan letter. Actually, a fan Instagram message. That's how we do it now. Kate was 35 years old, and she was married to her high school sweetheart, and they were raising a small son. She had just published a book called Blessed, a history of the prosperity gospel, this idea in some evangelical circles that if you have a lot, God must love you extra. And then, just like that, she's diagnosed with cancer. Bad cancer. As Kate writes in her memoir, it's got a wonderful name, No Cure for Being Human. Isn't that wonderful? Suddenly, the long horizon of her life moved. And the whole journey that had once extended so far into the distant future contracted into 90-day increments between scans. With each test that showed her tumors responding to an experimental immunotherapy, she was granted another 3 months of life. And 3 more months, and 3 more months. Eventually, thank God, her cancer went into remission, and her 90-day window stretched to 6 months, and then to a year at a time. But once the illusion of infinite days is pierced, she writes, we are never the same again. We learn that our bodies are simultaneously so strong and so delicate, so gloriously capable of doing extraordinary things, and that also, even under the best of circumstances, 90 days is not guaranteed. Nothing is. And so we do our very best to care for these miraculous machines, for these beautiful, breakable bodies, sealed with the imprimatur of the Holy One. Far from being the prisons of our souls, these tattered body clothes, they're the most precious gift we ever get. It took this tough year to teach me that. And thank God I was spared learning that hard lesson from a much more terrible or life-endangering disease. Like I said, I'm okay. I'll continue to be okay. I have every plan to keep working on getting healthy and staying that way for a very, very long time. I got lots of plans. But I now join with many of you in this room, probably the majority, who have some form of a chronic illness that's never going to completely go away. Just the way it is. And so I'll spend the rest of my life needing to bring a new level of intention to the food that I eat, to the way that I move, to the medications that I diligently take, to a new awareness of limits as I work to keep a progressive condition from progressing just as long as I can. But with that awakening comes a profound gift, the opportunity to discover the miracle that is me and you and us. To start a new decade of life, for the first time, finally learning how to love this fragile and amazing body. To see cooking a healthy meal, or going for a midday walk, or prioritizing simple acts of self-care, not as distractions from a more worthy pursuit, but as an act of sacred service, and attending to the image of God, of whom I am a physical manifestation. And so are you. And so are we all. Barchi nafshi et Adonai, v'kol kravai et shem kodsho. Bless the Holy One, O my soul. With all my body, I give praise to your name. Shana Tova.
We turn to page 223.
Continue on 223. Oh, you just said that.
Okay. It's your job to call the pages. Yale tachanunenu me'erev v'yavo shavatenu miboker ve'yerah rinunenu ad arev Yale koleinu me'erev v'yavo tzidkatenu miboker ve'yerah rinunenu ad arev. We'll jump to the last two. Yale dovkeinu me'erev v'yavo ileinu miboker ve'yerah bakashateinu ad arev. Last verse. Yale enkateinu me'erev v'yavo ilecha miboker ve'yerah ileinu ad arev. We turn to page 225. Yay, 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 yay. Yay, 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 yay. Yay, 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 yay. You can sing with Ve'hagu po'alach chusa chusa amalach Haneshamalach Haneshamalach Ve'hagu po'alach chusa chusa amalach Haneshamalach ve'hagu po'alach chusa Haneshamalach v'aguf po'alach Chusa ala malach, הנשמה לך והגוף שלך, אדוני עשה למען שמך. עצנו על שמך אדוני, עשה למען שמך. בעבור כבוד שמך, כי אל חנון ברחום שמך. למען שמך אדוני, וסלחת לעווננו, כי רבו. Page 226, top line, just this line, you repeat after me. אל ערך אפיים אתה. ובעל הרחמים נגרית, ודרך תשובה ביתה. גדולת רחמך בחסדיך תזכור היום, ובכל יום לזרע ידידיך. תבן עלינו ברחמך, כי אתה הוא בעל הרחמים. בתחנון ובתפילה פניך נקדם, כל דת לעיניו מקדם. מחרון אפך שוב, כמו בתורתך כתוב, ובצל כנפיך נכסה ונתלונן. כי יום בירד אדוני בענן, תעבור על פשע ותמחה אשם. כי יום ביתייצב עמו שם, תאזין שבתנו ותקשיבנו מאמר. כי יום ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לאלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונגד, וסלקת לעווננו וחטאתנו ונחלתנו. סלח לנו אבינו, כי פשענו, מחלנו מלכנו, כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל פועליך. Turning the page 227. הנה כחומר ביד היוצר, ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקצר. כן אנחנו בידך, חסד נוצר, לברית הרבה, ולתפן ליצר. Second verse. כי הנה כאבן ביד המסתה, ברצותו אוחז וברצותו מחטא. כן אנחנו בידך, מחיה ומוות, לברית הרבה, ולתפן ליצר. Last two verses. כי הנה כיריע ביד הרוקם, ברצותו מיישר וברצותו מעקם. כן אנחנו בידך, אלקנה ונוקם, לברית הרבה, ולתפן ליצר. Last one. כי הנה כך Laksin uvirzat ametzarim Kein anachnu beyadcha Mamtzi lemazor terem Lavirid haben Lavirid haben Galteven Lageset 229. Just the first line you can repeat after me. El Melech Yoshev Al Kisei Rachamim Minaheg b'chasitut mochel b'avonot amo Ma'avir yom rishon Marbeh mechila l'chataim Uslicha l'fosheim Oseh tzedakot im kol basar v'ruach Lo kera'atam tigmo הורית לנו לומר 13 זכור לנו היום ברית 13 כמו שידעת לענב מקדם כמו שכתוב וירד אדוני בענן ויתייצב עמו שם ויקרא בשם אדוני ויעבור אדוני על פניו ויקרא Adonai, Adonai, Elrahu Bechanud, Erech Hamayim, Verav Chesed Ve'emet, Nozer Chesed La'alafim, Nozer Tala avonenu uchatatenu unchaltanu Slach lanu avinu ki chatanu mechalanu malkeinu ki pashanu ki ata
Continue page 233. Please rise.
Shema kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Husvarachem aleinu, the Kabel barachamim uvratzon, et tefilatenu. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh yameinu kekedem. Al tashlichenu milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu. Al tashlichenu leitzigna ki chlokochenu al ta'azveinu. Here are words out of my Eloheinu v'Eloheinu. L'man shimcha hagadol timcha v'tisalach la'avonenu kachatu b'divrei kodshecha leman shimcha Adonai v'salachta la'avoni ki ravchu.
You can take your seats, page 234.
Eloheinu v'Eloheinu ve'imotenu salach lanu nachal lanu kapel lanu ki anu ahamecha ve'ata Eloheinu anu v'amecha ve'ata avinu anu avadecha ve'ata Adoneinu anu kehalecha ve'ata chelkeinu anu nachalatecha ve'ata gobaleinu anu sonnecha ve'ata roeinu anu charmecha ve'ata notreinu anu fa'ulatecha ve'ata yotreinu anu rayatecha ve'ata dodeinu anu segulatecha ve'ata karoveinu anu ahamecha ve'ata malkeinu anu ma'amirecha ve'ata ma'amireinu.
So I'm going to call up my friend, our president, Jacob Green. Come on up, Jacob. You see, I get paid for being here. And I love it. But I and the cantor and the rest of the staff, we get paid for being here. But every 2 years, there's this person who's mashugana enough to take a full-time job and pay for the privilege. And Jacob, my friend, you are a mashugana, but you're on the side of the angels. For the last year and a half, through times of turbulence and change, Jacob has been a steady hand and a wonderful partner. We're incredibly looking forward to honoring you at the gala in a few months, and I'll get to share some more words to you at that point. But I want to take this opportunity to thank you for the incredible work that you do on my behalf, on behalf of the whole team, and on behalf really of all of us in holding this place together. It would be wonderful, friends, if synagogues could run on vibes. It would be wonderful if synagogues could run on the energy of the people and their passion for being here. We are set. But since the electric company doesn't accept vibes yet, we take this opportunity to hear from one of our community who has stepped up to share with us a little bit about the importance, the essential importance of making this community all that it can be with all of our shared labor, with all of our shared contribution, building up together a project which is bigger than any one of us. So I turn this over to my friend Jacob and encourage you to listen carefully and to listen generously.
Thank you, my friend, my rabbi. Shana Tova. I feel so incredibly lucky to be here with you this evening. I just love this place, and this is such an honor to be a part of this incredible village. Last year, during the High Holiday Appeal, I spoke about Pat Hutt's kindness to my son, Noah, over Pokemon cards at Kiddush. That simple act of connection inspired us to use the word village, a term that now resonates deeply with who we are as a congregation. Little did I know that just 2 weeks afterwards, the world and our village would be rocked by the events of October 7th, and we'd come to understand how critical that bond here would be. Whether you're here every week, once a month, or only on Yom Kippur, no judgment, we've all felt what Rabbi Adam spoke about on Rosh Hashanah, the honey and the sting. Yet through it all, we have faced each challenge by finding strength in our connections. Our strength over the past year has not come from being the same, thinking the same. Do we even know how to do that as Jews, right? If there's one thing this president gig has taught me, it's that we do not all think the same. That is for sure, but there's beauty in that. And our strength comes from working collaboratively to navigate challenges and celebrate successes together. And if you were here last Simchat Torah, you know exactly what I mean. The beauty of diverse connection was demonstrated yet again at last month's board meeting during our icebreaker period. Because let's be honest, board meetings need a little bit of levity. Last month, I asked our 35 board members, clergy, and staff to break out into teams and list 10 accomplishments of Congregation B'nai Israel here over the past year, 10 things you connect with. They had 5 minutes to do so, but true to form, it took only 20 seconds before 2 teams yelled bingo at the same time. This is a very competitive board. And by the end of just 1 minute of discussion, we had over 90 accomplishments recorded. These are ways we connect, and I wanted to share a few with you this evening. Some answers were very common. The Israel Solidarity Concert, our gala in which we recognized 3 generations of the same family serving on the board at the same time, welcoming 70 new member families to CBI, enrolling 90 children in our religious school, our vibrant, inspiring clergy, amazing staff team, and of course, very popular answer was the Primetimers Ice Cream Social, the 65-plus group here, because nothing says community quite like arguing what's colder, the ice cream or the air conditioning in the sanctuary. And there was other unique moments that were noted, ones that weren't on every card but were no less meaningful. The Chocolate Seder, the community choir, the junior cantors, I'm a little biased, I like that one, Bite-Size Shabbat, our first annual synagogue retreat to Brandeis Bardeen, thank you Rabbi Cantor and Sam Brown, Casino Night, the launch of Shul Cloud, Mitzvah Day, and even the new parking lot lighting got a lot of appreciation. These accomplishments, big and small, illustrate the beauty of how each of us connect to CBI differently, but all together. The same is true in my own family. Our 12-year-old daughter, Ella, has her own path to connection here. Ella's almost always the first in our family to arrive at shul. She walks to shul. On Rosh Hashanah, she showed up at 8:15 a.m. on both days. Cantor, where's the wall plaque for that? Now, why would a 12-year-old do that when she doesn't even need a parking spot? She connects through the families here, the babies, the children. She loves helping make their high holiday experience a little sweeter and helping their families, their parents at the same time. She's connecting in her own way, together with all of us. I recently spoke to a friend of mine who attended our alternative Musaf, led by Jacob Kival. He expressed his gratitude for having a space to connect in his own way, comfortably, at CBI, on the high holidays, and still feel that sense of togetherness. And just last week at Rosh Hashanah, I experienced the magic of being here, with so many paths leading to connection. During the dancing in the aisles, I saw it. During Rabbi and Cantor's Devar, I heard it. And during the Aleinu, in the very back with my son on the floor, I felt it. This is a space where we can all be different, value things differently, connect in our own ways, sound different, and still be one family. In preparing for the appeal this year, I learned a few new things. It's always bothered me a little bit that we do the appeal on Kol Nidre, or at all. But I researched, and it turns out, according to Rabbi Joshua Stanton and Cantor Olivia Brodsky, the High Holiday Appeal first surfaced in October 1916, created when we gathered as Jews in our greatest numbers to support the resilience of the Jewish people who were trying to navigate World War I. And that resonated. And I also came across a blessing that recognizes the force for good that results when we gather in such great numbers. A blessing that I hadn't heard before. One said, when you see 600,000 gathered together, as they did when Moses received the 10 Commandments at Sinai. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, knower of secrets. Now, the rabbis have lots of different interpretations of this blessing. Could you guys just align a little bit and help us out here, those of us that aren't rabbis? For me, this blessing reminds us that within our collective numbers, there is immense diversity. The diversity of journeys, hopes, desires for social connections, all held uniquely in our own hearts. Today, we may not quite be 600,000. We're close. But here we are, gathered in great numbers as a powerful and strong Jewish community, ready to support each other, lift each other up, and carry on the resilience of the generations before us. And with so many people filling our shul week after week and pouring out into the courtyard here tonight, we face both great opportunities and great responsibilities. Our beautiful campus, as welcoming as it is starting to show signs of everlasting love. Issues with air conditioning failures and roof leaks and classroom constraints and parking challenges are becoming more frequent. If you'd like to check that out, just go to the FLC after the service, second floor. There's a pipe in the middle of the hallway pouring water when the air conditioning runs. It's very, very special. In the absence of a long-range capital improvement plan, we formed an ad hoc committee to tackle these challenges, drawing from the expertise of our amazing congregants. The committee brought in a consultant to help us build a 30-year capital improvement plan and reserve study, which analyzed the entire property and created a financial model for our growing needs. This effort was led by Perry Bridger, and I'm proud to say it was funded entirely out of the pockets of the committee members themselves, because we didn't have a budget for that study. The result is a comprehensive 106-page assessment of our space and a financial evaluation of what's required to support CBI in the future. It concludes that our facility requires immediate attention, that our membership fees are not enough to cover these challenges, and our budget and reserves are not at the levels necessary for our short and long-term needs, given our growth. While these challenges are all signs of healthy growth, we will need our village to come together to deliver the programs, services, and celebrations we all cherish here at CBI. Regardless of our path to connection, we all have the opportunity in this year's High Holiday Appeal to ensure continuity, strength, diversity, and collective impact. To those of you who have already pledged, and there has been so many of you, thank you. To our benefactors, thank you. To those of you who have contributed to the Life and Legacy program under Wendy Aronson's leadership, thank you for helping build our endowment for future generations. To our board members who have answered the call with 100% participation in this year's appeal, thank you. Now I invite you to call to mind the experiences that have brought you joy, the music that has elevated your high holidays, the programs that have opened your heart, and the people in our village who have filled you with hope, love, and support. Think of those moments that make Congregation B'nai Israel truly feel like home, those experiences that have created your own path to connection here and brought us together. As the ushers now and members of the board move to the aisles to help collect the High Holiday Appeal envelopes, I share with you the blessing of collective impact. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hacham haritzim. And on behalf of my wife, Nicole, and our children, Leah, Clara, Ella, and Noah, thank you for being part of our incredible village, for your kindness and your unwavering spirit. Gamar Chatima Tova.
Yashar to Jacob, whatever number you have in your head, add a 0 to it. And if you're feeling comfortable right now, add 2 zeros to it. If you're just getting by, do what you can do. But if you are able to dig deep, I'm asking you as this community's rabbi, together with our president, help us make everything that we dream of possible. Please be generous tonight.
יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה בהושב בשמיים יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה כשהלב נפתח חובק יד לעולם ובקריאה גדולה נשיר לאהבה הרוח כל השאר זה לא מאוחר השחר כבר עלה זה זמן לאהבה יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים יחד לב אל לב נפתח ותקווה לאהבה יש רק אם נאמין ובלי שום דאווין בדרך לעולם זה שיר לאהבה לה 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 יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים יחד לב אל לב נפתח ותקווה לאהבה כשהלב נפתח חובק יד לעולם ובקריאה גדולה נשיר לאהבה ורק אם נאמין ובלי שום דאווין בדרך העולם זה שיר לאהבה יחד לב אל בדרך העולם. זה שיר
Thank you, everyone who contributed tonight. Don't worry if you didn't. You'll have an opportunity. You know that joke about why Jews can't get lost on desert islands? Because the United Jewish Appeal will find you? We now have Shoal Cloud. We know exactly where you live. Seriously, thank you to everybody who helps make this work possible. I could not be more grateful to have the opportunity to be part of Clergy Team with this extraordinary partner, to work with this extraordinary staff and be part of this extraordinary village. And it really, really does take a village. Thank you, everybody. Invite you to please rise, page 234. Continue, page 237.
האחד שחטאנו לפניך באונס וברצון, והאחד שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, האחד שחטאנו לפניך בבלי דעת, והאחד שחטאנו לפניך בביטוי שפתיים, האחד שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ערבי, האחד שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי האחד שחטאנו לפניך ביצר הרע, והאחד שחטאנו לפניך ביודעים ובלא יודעים, ועל כולם אלוה סליחו, סלח לנו, מחל לנו, כפר לנו.
We have sinned against you through denial and deceit, and we have sinned against you by taking of bribes. We have sinned against you by clever cynicism, and we have sinned against you by speaking ill of others. We have sinned against you through condescension, and we have sinned against you through stubbornness. For all of these sins forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
שחטאנו לפניך בפריקתו, בחטא שחטאנו לפניך בפלילות, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בסטיית רע, בחטא שחטאנו לפניך בצרות עין, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתשומת יד, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בתימכון לבב, ועל כולם אלוה סליחו, סלח לנו, כפר לך לנו,
We continue page 240 at the Bet.
מי שענה לשרה אימנו בזקנתה, הוא מי שענה לאברהם אבינו בהר המוריה, מי שענה ליצחק בנם שנעקר על גבי המזבח, מי שענה לרבקה בהריונה, מי שענה ליעקב בבית-אל, מי שענה ללאה בעונייה, מי שענה לרחל בעצבונה, מי שענה ליוסף בבית האסורים, מי שענה למילדות העבריות על האוזניים, מי שענה ליוכבד על שפת היאור, מי שענה לאבותינו לאמותינו על ים סוף, מי שענה למשה בחורף, מי שענה למרים בבערה, מי שענה לאהרון במחתה, מי שענה לפנחס בקומו מתוך העיתן, מי שענה לבנות סבב אחד ביום תת פתח אוהל מועד, מי שענה לכל הצדיקים והצדיקות, והחסידים והחסידות, התמימים והתמימות, הישרים והישרות, ורחמנים ורחמניות.
The prayer that we just chanted invokes the God who answered our ancestors in times of distress. We say this year it's not enough that God just answered our ancestors. We say this year we need answers. We need God to listen to the voices who cry out to return our brothers and sisters back to us. We need God to listen to the voices that cry out for safety from rocket fire, for safety from terror, for safety from violence. We ask God to answer those who cry out from the depths of their heart for justice and for peace, for enduring peace, for real peace. We ask you, God, to listen to our cries this year. It's not enough that you listen to our ancestors, God. We pray to you now, and we ask that you listen to us. You can take your seats.
This is the moment where we would usually turn to page 243, the pinnacle of our prayers, the moment when we would cry out to God, our Father, our King, Avinu Malkeinu. For so many of us, it's our favorite moment in the service. The words, the melody that we all know striking that primal chord in our hearts. But this year, we won't sing it. Because it's Shabbat, our tradition refrains from beseeching God, avoids asking for what we lack on a day when we are meant to be content with what we have. How fitting for this year and how maddening. A year when we had to print 1,685 names, mostly young Israelis, on the Yizkor signs hanging in our courtyard. That was the count as of Tuesday. Since then, there are 4 more names to be added. A year when the faces of hostages hang in this sanctuary, brothers, sisters, fathers, a baby, all missing from their families' arms for 371 days. Empty Shabbat tables symbolically set around the world with plates, glasses, a high chair. A year when we need our father and our mother, our king and our queen, more than ever. Avinu Malkeinu, our favorite prayer, is missing too. In March of this year, Aidan Golan released a song to represent Israel in the 2024 Eurovision contest. The song, October Rain, was written after the massacre of October 7th, and it drew heavy scrutiny for its perceived political support of Israel. The Eurovision organization requested multiple rewrites and finally accepted an altered version of the song, despite many calls to boycott Israel's participation and Golan herself from the contest. Tonight, in lieu of Avinu Malkeinu, Anasia Hitzman, the one and only, will sing October Rain in its original form. Our Father, our King. I hope you're listening to this.
Writers of the history, stand with me. Look into my eyes and see. People go away but never say goodbye. Someone stole the moon tonight, took my light. Everything is black and white. Who's the fool who told you boys don't cry? Hours and hours and flowers. Life is no game for the cowards. Why the time goes wild? Every day I'm losing my mind, holding on in this mysterious ride, dancing in the storm. We got nothing to hide. Take me home and leave the world behind. Baby, promise me that never again I'm still wet from this October rain. October rain. Living in a fantasy, ecstasy, everything is meant to be. We shall pass, but love will never die. Hours and hours and flowers. Life is no game for the cowards. Why the time goes wild? October rain. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Baby, promise me that never again. I'm still waiting from this October rain. October rain. Sorry. לא נשנה revealing שום, אין מקום, אין אותי מיום ליום. כולם ילדים טובים, אחד אחד.
יגדל ויגדש שמי רבה, ועמד דברה קירותי, והמליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביום יחון וחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלל בזמן קריב ומבוא אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה. ברכו לעילא לעילא, מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא ומבוא אמן. תקבל צלות ההון ובתחון דכל ישראל, כל דם אבהון דבישמיה במבוא אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל במבוא אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, במבוא אמן. 246. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמנו חלקנו בהם, וגורלנו לכל המונם. אנחנו גלורים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושל מקרוב השמיים ממעל, ושכינה תזור בגוני מרומים. הוא אלוהינו ואלוהינו, ומלכנו אס תשובתו, כתוב בתורתו, ונתת היום והשקלותיו אלוהיך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
There are those in this community who are in mourning and who have yahrzeit tonight. There are also those in this community who are feeling acutely the grief, the missing of people as you begin a new year who are feeling acutely the Jewish people's grief and the world's grief, who perhaps have not been into synagogue in a long time and who've not stood in someone's memory who would be proud of you for being here. If you are standing in mourning, if you're standing marking a yard site, if you're standing holding the memory of someone close, invite us to join together in Kaddish on page 247, an affirmation that people die, but love does not. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah. V'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shmei dekudsha b'rechu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'imru. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Osei shalom bimrama. V'yasei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. You may be seated. We continue with the Psalm for the Season, page 248.
אחת שאלתי, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה בקש, אותה בקש. אחת שאלתי, אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה בקש, אותה בקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזור בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזור בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש, אותה
In a moment, I'll invite my friend, our president, Jacob Green, back up once more for announcements, then we'll close with Yigdal, and we'll see you bright and early again tomorrow. Before I turn over the microphone to Jacob, let me just say this. The reason that Yom Kippur services are so long is because all that it's reasonable to expect is 15 minutes of real solid prayer. You just don't know when those 15 minutes are going to come. And there's a lot of people in the room. And if you don't get 15 minutes, if you get 5, that's okay too. And if you don't get 5, if there was one thing that stretched your heart a little bit wider open tonight, that's good. And it wasn't, as Jacob said, the same for everybody. If it was a moment in prayer or a moment in the sermon, if it was that incredible edition of singing of October Rain, or the beautiful melody that you wrote, Cantor, to Achat Sha'alti, whether it was Kol Nidre and closing your eyes and remembering somebody who you stood with many, many years ago, all you needed to have was one moment, and it was worth it to be here. And if you haven't found your moment yet, come back tomorrow. We're all in this together, and we're all in this to stretch our hearts a little bit wider, to find a little bit of spaciousness in our souls, to look inward, and to recommit to something good that we can bring into the world in the year ahead. I hope you had at least a moment tonight, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being an extraordinary community. I'll pass this over to Jacob, and we'll close again with Yigdal.
As he's coming forward, junior cantors, go ahead and make your way up here. Be ready for Yigdal.
Those feel like the right announcement words for me. So I will just say and echo Rabbi's comments. Thank you, everyone that made this evening so special. Thank you for your generosity. We'll see you tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for Shacharit. Gamar Chatima Tova.
Yigdal Elohim Chai ve'yishtabach nimtza ve'einit el metziuto echad ve'en yachid keyichudo ne'elam ve'gam ein sof le'adu Same room. Yasha Kotli.